Welcome to Happy House Tours, working with homeowners and volunteers for a great event. And my screen is not advancing. Hold on. Hold on, everybody. My screen is not advancing, so let me figure out what's going on here. Let's try this again. There we go. I'm Sue Goganian. I hope this session will provide small organizations with a way to offer what I believe is a terrific fundraiser that builds memberships and makes friends. We have divided this session into 3 parts with time for questions at the end. As you can see, the panel will cover all aspects of the tour. This is an awesome event that everybody loves. It has become an important part of our year and a significant income generator for us. We did make a decision in the spring of this year that the pandemic would prevent us from doing it in December of this year, next month. This is not the year to ask people to let strangers into their homes. We hope to do it next year. And although we do it as a holiday tour, it could be reconfigured for any time of year, and then you would avoid our annual worry about the weather. First, I'll talk about how the tour came to be and the role of the nonprofit in making it work. Faye Salt, one of our trustees and the person who manages the tour, will talk about how she manages to do that. John and Jaye Cuffe, historic Beverly members who have graciously offered to put their house on the tour twice for us, will talk about the role of the homeowner. So when I worked at the Bostonian Society many years ago, we had a fabulous house tour. Everyone loved it. It made lots of money. But I learned at that time that you needed a huge group of volunteers in order to be able to pull off a house tour successfully. You are asking people to open their homes to you, to let strangers into their homes, and they need to trust you, and they need to know that their homes and their possessions will be protected and cared for. Each home requires a volunteer in every room or almost every room in order to do that. And since you really can't ask people to stand for 4 hours, you actually need 2 full groups of volunteers plus a couple of backups. I knew I didn't have the capacity to do that. So even though people asked me over many years at Historic Beverly to do a house tour, I never even considered it. I also knew that I didn't have someone that I could trust that could manage what can be a very complicated event. So in 2013, Faye Salt, who at the time was a member and who also worked for Coldwell Banker, the real estate firm, offered their realtors as a volunteer corps for the house tour. Each year, they comprise more than half of the total group of volunteers that we use on the day of the tour. They are professional, reliable, they love houses, and they know how to get along with everybody. It's a match made in heaven. So why do it? Again, everybody loves house tours. Let's be honest, people are nosy and they like to see it into other people's homes. Plus, we've been careful to have a wide variety of houses and decorations on the tour. We look for houses that are either historic, architecturally significant, interesting in some other way, or are uniquely decorated. Other communities do use professional decorators for their house tours, but we actually believe that our attendees enjoy seeing the love and attention that people put into their own homes. So we're really happy to do it without decorators. Thanks in part to Coldwell Banker, which covers all of the printing costs, our expenses are really low. We always sell lots of tickets. As with all of our programs, we offer a lower member price, and that brings in new members every year. That's one of the goals with all of our programs, is to bring in new members. For many people who buy a ticket, this is their first interaction with us. We definitely attract people well beyond our normal audience, and that's a key component as far as I'm concerned for a successful event. The homeowners who participate receive a patron membership from us, which is a $120 value. It's one of our higher level memberships. Many of them are new to us. They were not members before, and more than half of them keep their memberships, so they stay with us. So another way we've brought in new members. A lot of participants, like the Cuffes, have become great friends to the organization. We always include one of our own houses as an extra house, and that's where people pick up their tickets the day of the tour. This is particularly important because, as I said, we are selling tickets to a lot of people for whom this is their first interaction with us. So it gives us an opportunity to show off one of our houses. We do free tours that day for them. We give them our newsletter. We give them our event listing, anything we can to try and draw them in. The images you see here are both from Hale Farm, which was the home of John Hale, the first minister of Beverly. And I believe that year we had a local florist do the decorations for us. I'll say it a third time. People love this event. It's just a great day. It's so much fun to see groups of people walking down the street with their maps, which is what you see in their hands there. We often try to have all the houses either within walking distance or clusters of houses within walking distance, so that if the day is nice, people enjoy walking between each house. A lot of people come in groups, meet their friends to do the program, and we also have quite a number of people who come from out of town for this event. I mentioned the member and non-member pricing. We also have a third tier of ticket price, which is a sponsor ticket. It's a higher price ticket that offers 2 house tour tickets, plus an annual membership, plus an invitation to the after party when we thank the homeowners. Often that party is offered by a trustee, and it's a really nice way, again, to talk to the new friends that you've made that day. On the left here, you see the invitation to the party, and on the right is one of our e-blasts that we sent out encouraging sponsors. So what's our role? Well, it's our event, so we have ultimate responsibility for everything. We approve all the marketing materials, the save the date card, the publicity, the ticket map. We manage all financial aspects. We collect ticket money, both online and in person. And we thank people who make donations, either in addition to their tickets or in lieu of tickets if they cannot attend the event. And our tickets are non-refundable unless we cancel the tour. What that does mean is you get a little anxious because people buy tickets quite late. They tend to wait until they can see what the weather's going to be like, but it's worked out every year for us. We also do whatever is necessary to support Faye, the volunteers, and the homeowners, both before the tour and during the tour, because this is really an event that depends on everybody doing their part and working towards a really successful day. And I will now turn it over to Faye.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? I'd like to go over objectives of our tour, and first go through the list of the participants, if you will. I want to identify the tour partners and their roles, present an overview of the project planning timeline, discuss the marketing plan, the creation and distribution of tour materials, and last but not least, a few helpful hints of things that we've learned that might help you avoid some of the pitfalls we've had over the years. First of all, the homeowners. If we didn't have homeowners who were willing to open their homes to us, we don't have a tour. So it all starts with homeowners. Historic Beverly staff, trustees, and volunteers are all involved in this, many of them from the beginning right till the end. Coldwell Banker, the Coldwell Banker Beverly Real Estate Office. We couldn't do this tour without them. They help us with all of the designs, some of the marketing. They print the brochures, which are our tickets. And in case it isn't clear to you, why would Coldwell Banker want to do this? Think about real estate. Realtors love to meet people. They love to show houses. So this is an opportunity for the Coldwell Banker office, as well as Historic Beverly, to put together an event that really has become a community event. And people come year after year. Agents meet people at the homes, and they love the tour as much as we do. We have a professional photographer, Amy Cuffe, who puts together some beautiful photos for us for our brochures. So all I have to do is send Amy the addresses. She goes out, she takes the photos, and they become the professional photographs you'll see in our brochure. And as Sue said, this is individual home ownership. People are decorating their homes the way they like to. It's not a designer showcase. But one year we did have a request, and it came through Coldwell Banker. There was a home stager who was writing an article for the Boston Globe, and he needed a home to stage. And so fortunately, we were asked to have one of our homes on the tour staged, and it was made the difference for me of getting a final home. There was a homeowner who had a beautiful home, but she was a little bit nervous, and it was the thing that made the difference. Plus, we get some great marketing through the Boston Globe. So, as Sue said, ours is a holiday tour. But this timeline really encompasses everything you might do if you wanted to put on a similar tour. Think 18 weeks back up from the date you want to have your tour, really 17 weeks. The 18th week is follow-up, and we'll talk about that. So the first 6 weeks, things are overlapping. This is a elapsed time, but first IDing the houses. They don't have to be historic. They just have to be interesting. You know those houses you go by all the time and you just think, I'd love to get in there. That's the kind of house that I look for when I try to pick out homes. The interesting thing is, in most cases, as Sue said, we do not know these homeowners. I send them a letter and I tell them about our tour if they're not familiar with it, and ask them, would you be willing to have your home in our tour? And people really are honored by it. I'm sort of surprised every year that I get any responses, but I send 20 to 30 letters out to different homes every year, and I always get 5 to 6 homeowners say they'd love to be on the tour. Once I've identified the homes, I meet with each individual homeowner at their home. We go through the flow of the tour. How will people get in? How will they leave? What rooms will they see? Not all homeowners want the whole house open. Most people do the first floor, but some people have opened their entire home for our tour. It helps determine what materials we need, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But also how many volunteers we're going to need to staff these homes on the day of the tour. So as we move into the next phase, which is about 9 weeks, these are the details. These are the things that make a difference between kind of so-so tour or professional tour that really looks like we know what we're doing and that people that go on the tour love it, but also word travels, and it helps us get other homeowners in future years. So that's the marketing, research of the homes. We do research on the house history, and we start setting up our volunteer plans. And I have a Coldwell Banker agent that works as a sort of go-between. She starts organizing the agents in the office to volunteer for the tour. And then we have other people that are volunteers within our organization and former homeowners. And then the final 3 weeks, final communications to everybody involved. We host our event. Every year, our event is the second Saturday of December from 11 to 3. So we host our event, and then post-event activities are very important. Checking in with everybody involved in the tour, debriefing, sending thank you notes, all those little things that make the difference and make people want to come to our tour and have their home on the tour. So let's talk about marketing. Everything really revolves around the marketing. Here's one of the photos from Amy Cuffe on one of the homes that was on our tour. A save the date postcard. We have some samples of these in upcoming slides. We put together a postcard and get it out early to start advertising our tour. The postcards are put online. They're all over the city. They're in the Coldwell Banker offices. We'll talk about that in a minute. Of course, Historic Beverly on the website, the social media that we have, and our newsletter, so that everyone involved in our organization knows what's going on with the tour and time to buy your tickets. Coldwell Banker, here we are again. Their agents make up about half of our tour guides. Coldwell Banker loves these postcards. Realtors always want an opportunity to communicate with people. They can send their cards out to clients. They bring them to open houses. They have them at their reception desk, and they advertise our tour on their website, which is huge for us. Media. We do have some newspaper information in local newspapers about our tours, how to contact us, where to buy tickets, and a local radio station, 104.9, does 10-second clips for us on our tour. Again, how to buy tickets, and it gets people through the door. Word of mouth. We have all these technological things today, but don't forget word of mouth. People talk. Nobody wants to go to an event by themselves. So once one person knows, they start calling their family and friends, and word of mouth is huge. It gets the word out there. So let's go on now. Here's a sample of Save the Date. And so one of the things that we have done is we do not announce the addresses of the homes on the tour until the day of the tour, until you pick up your ticket the day before. We like to have an eye-catching photo. It can be an exterior photo of a home if a homeowner allows us to. But in this case, we had homes that had interesting fireplaces. So it made for a nice save the date postcard. Let's talk about tour materials. And there are different levels of materials. First, the homeowners, the brochure, which is our ticket, and of course, materials for the volunteers who are going to help us throughout the day working on this event. The homeowners. So I call it a site-specific goodie bag. It has everything in the bag for the homeowner. It's dropped off the week before the tour. I make an appointment. I bring it to the homeowner. It includes a sign that goes on a stake in the front of the home. Any signage we've discussed at my initial meeting with them, something like please remove your shoes or please do not enter, arrows, whatever we need in that home is in that bag. We've been lucky with the weather, but we do put in a bag of shoe protectors if we have inclement weather. And of course, reception. How and who are going to be greeting guests at that homeowner's home. And so they get a copy in their bag of who's going to be at their house. Also, their tickets to the event and the cocktail hour are in this bag. So everything's in there, so we don't have to think about it the day of the tour. The brochure, you're going to see a sample of that in a moment. It's the ticket. It includes the house history, a photo of the home, our professional photos, and a map of how you get to each home. And then the volunteer lists. This is huge, and it is the final key to the successful tour. The homeowner has one with all the information on it. Every volunteer has a sheet with information about who is going to be at the home they're going to be at. Names, phone numbers, email addresses. The homeowner knows who's going to be in their house. The volunteers know where they're supposed to be. Historic Beverly staff, me, and the Coldwell Banker coordinator all have a huge spreadsheet, including every piece of information on every house, who's supposed to be where and when. We have anywhere from usually 40 to 45 volunteers for this 4-hour event. So there's a lot of moving parts. Everybody has to know where they're supposed to be and how to get other people. So let's take a look at the ticket, the brochure. So here's the sample of our brochure, which is a folding brochure. Of course, we have to tell everyone about Historic Beverly. Why are we doing this? Why do they want to get involved? And the tour. So you'll see the photo with an explanation, a little bit of the history of the home. On many occasions, homeowners have more information than we have on their homes. So the other good thing for us is we get to collect interesting stories and interesting things about the homes that maybe we didn't know before. At the bottom, you'll see something called fun facts. So some of the things we do on social media is we like to do little teasers. So one of the questions I ask homeowners when I first meet with them is, can you tell me something about yourself or about your house that you think nobody else knows but's really interesting? So I'm not sure if you can read one, but you see the 72 Lothrop Street, the Queen Anne Victorian. One of the interesting things about that home was the marble counters in the kitchen were made and hand inlaid by the same family who supplied the marble for the Taj Mahal. That's sort of an interesting factoid. So what we have is a tagline, and we'll ask a question on social media, and if people want to know the answer, we'll say, find out where this house is at Historic Beverly's house tour. So it's a great way for us to keep people involved on all the months leading up to the tour. The next slide will show us the back of the brochure, which, as I said, includes the house history, the photo, the tour map. So we have found that having people go see the tour in any order they want makes sense, because we don't want to have backups at specific homes. So people can tour the houses in any order. And usually they walk. We usually have it within the same neighborhood if we can. And of course, our sponsorship information, Coldwell Banker, Amy Lee, who does photography, and any other information we want to tell people that are going on the tour. Volunteers. So this is really, it's a huge issue, as Sue said. We're lucky enough that Coldwell Banker continues to work with us all these years. They usually supply, we determine, so the Coldwell Banker lead person and I sit down when we have all the names of all the people that are volunteering. And we put together, and some of it's a little bit of a who would get along with this homeowner? And we set up guides for each home. So the lead guide, the one who opens the front door, is usually a Coldwell Banker agent. They're professionally dressed, as are all of our tour people. They're festively dressed for the holidays in our case. All guides have a 2-hour shift, and they receive a complimentary ticket to the second 2 hours. So everybody gets a ticket to the event. As I said earlier, and this is important, the spreadsheet, the names of the people, the phone number, the emails. In this photo, David Brown from the Coldwell Banker office in Beverly is there in one of our homes. And on the left-hand one, on the right-hand one, that home has an interesting 3rd floor. And this is a beautiful, beautiful Victorian. The first 2 floors look like a Victorian. And the attic was gutted, and it was a disco set up, complete with a disco ball. So people got to see that entire house. So it's really was a mystery house. Okay, helpful hints. So we've learned some things over the years. We're not perfect. We try to be. But we've learned some things that are worth thinking about if you're going to do a tour like this. Print extra postcards and brochures. One year, we had temperatures the 2nd Saturday of December in the 70s. People were walking up and down the street with their booklets. People were stopping. I was one of them walking to one of the houses. Where can I get a ticket? We didn't have any left. We didn't print enough tickets. So print extras. I use the extra materials when I go to meet with homeowners to talk about what we do and how we do it. I want them to see the postcards, our brochures, so they know this is a professional setup. We're going to do our best to make this seamless for them. So print extra materials. Communication. How many things have broken down because people don't communicate? Always communicate to all the partners involved. Answer questions. Make people know we're thinking of them. Make sure they're going to show up for the event. And important, after the tour, debrief. People have great suggestions, things that they picked up that we didn't. And so we try to incorporate those into future tours. Ticket sale tips. The first year, we really didn't know how it was going to go. And we thought it would be too busy to sell tickets the morning of the tour. Big mistake. We weren't ready, and we could have sold more tickets. So set it up so that you can sell tickets the day of the event. We do that all the time now, and we always do, because as Sue said, people wait till the last minute. They don't know what the weather's going to be like. So sell them right up until the end. Pick up the signage the day of the event. I try to get the lead Coldwell Banker person on the second shift when they're leaving to pick up all the materials. All of the signs, arrows, the signs that are outside, anything, because we reuse them, we recycle them. We don't have to recreate them every year. They don't have dates on them. So we like to get those. And I didn't do that up front, and it was a lot of running around. The homeowners don't want all this stuff in their house, so we try to get it back. And then have several backup volunteers. One year, I didn't have enough volunteers, and somebody called out, and I was at a property for pretty much 4 hours. And I like to be able to go around throughout the tour to the homes. I see everyone, I hear, I learn a lot from actually attending the tour as if I am a participant. So it's good to have lots of backups. They get a complimentary ticket, they're on call, if you need them, they're there. So that's really the end of my presentation, but I started it with homeowners. So now I'm going to turn this over to John and Jaye Cuffe, who will tell you about their experiences as homeowners on the tour.
Thank you, Faye. I'll start it off taking a moment on the role of the homeowner. And as you might expect, participating homeowners share a willingness to open their homes to the community. After all, it's a very good cause. Beyond that willingness, though, little else is required. The Historical Society, as both Faye and Sue have said, has addressed all of the logistics, including the creation of and even the placement of the attractive signage that will guide visitors to your home. Volunteers have even been dedicated to your house. They're prepared to greet and otherwise tend to all of your arriving guests. Really, the only decision that you as a homeowner need to make is whether you wish to be at home for the tour. I'll turn it over to Jaye, who will talk about preparations.
Preparation, it's so simple. There's no preparations that are required that you take beyond your own front door. Just as you would when you're expecting guests, tend your housekeeping, make it look pretty, make them feel welcome. With historic Beverly's tours being held during the holidays, you get the added benefit of starting the decorating earlier than you normally would. And like Faye said, every home has a story. You'll have the opportunity to work with the society's representatives in gathering and hearing about your home story and seeing all that we're interested in history. That to us is a real plus.
Now we have a little bit of advice for homeowners when a tour like this is being set up and conducted. The first thing that we'd mention is do choose to be home for the tour. You have an opportunity to assist the volunteers in answering questions that they couldn't possibly be prepared for. The questions that you hear, they run the gamut. Some people ask about the home's age, how many owners it has had, and so on, and everyone's prepared to answer those. But others, they might wonder about the age of that lovely white ash that you have planted in the backyard. And did you plant it? Or the color and the name of the paint on the living room walls. So again, our advice, engage with your guests, let them drive the conversation. You can never predict what's going to be of interest to them. And at the same time, don't be afraid to take the lead on occasion. Try sharing a slice of your family's story, something that will complement the story of your house. And with all this engagement going on, the last piece of advice that we'd offer is don't forget to visit the other homes on the tour. Be both a host and a guest. You won't regret it. Turn it over to Jaye for what we liked most.
What we liked most. The tours really served for us as a community building event. At the years and the tours accumulated, residents visited our homes or their homes and met people in their neighborhood or others nearby. And I believe true bonds were forged. The simple act of strolling around, seeing like-minded people with their colorful, beautiful brochures in hand ensures a definite connection. You may direct someone to the next house they plan to visit. You can ask them about the impressions of the house they just left. It's just a lot of fun.
The tours, they're a unique opportunity to share stories with strangers. This last year, we want to tell you a little bit about something that we tried. We set up a micro exhibit on my father's role as a World War II pilot. We dressed the mannequin in his leather bomber jacket and cap. We placed his pilot's log, his wing ceremony dinner invitation, and other memorabilia on a table. Just talking about my father and his service, something that he never did while he was with us, that meant a lot to us. But what became equally meaningful was hearing our visitors start to share their family stories about sacrifice, shared sacrifice through the community. Some people who had arrived as strangers left as friends. In a sense, community history came alive via this retelling of people's stories, and it became a wonderful complement to the wonderful collections and buildings of the Historical Society. And just to close, I think I can speak for us both when I say we really appreciated the opportunity to be part of this fun and very worthwhile initiative and to work with Faye and Sue throughout.
Thank you.
So before I summarize, I wanted to just remind people about something that I think is really important, and I wanted to emphasize it again, and that is that the homeowners feel really secure. In our letter to them, we talk about a maximum number of tickets that we will sell, and we do have a maximum number, and we come by that number depending on how many houses there are and how we feel that the day will go. The second thing is, Faye, will you talk a little bit more about the signage that's indoors that allows the homeowners to tell us which parts of the house will be open?
Yes. So we often have signs, for instance, if someone only wants to show the first floor, we'll have a sign, and we supply all the ribbon and everything to tie this across the stairs that will say, please do not enter. And we typically have a volunteer, in that case, at the staircase, so that people don't go somewhere the homeowner does not want them to go. The other thing we do is, during my initial tour, if I see, for instance, a step or an area that might be a little tricky for people coming through, we might have a sign that says, please watch your step. Or if homeowners have asked us, I really don't want people coming in and walking around in boots, please remove your shoes. People are great. People think about, I think, other people's homes as their own. They really want, they're excited to come in to a house that they maybe have walked by for years. So we do have very specific signage. It may be an arrow. In some cases, we have to help people. We do this ahead of time, or it's on the booklet. Where should you park? Those types of things. So it's very detailed.
And I think that's really important, because you don't want a homeowner to think that they have to open their whole house in order to participate, right? Everybody's different. We rarely see the entire interior of a house. Some people do just one floor, some people do just selected rooms. And I think it's important, as you're approaching people, to let them know that they have a lot of leeway in this regard. I also want to mention that the picture that you see there is from the year that we had the stager. And so you can tell how that was really wonderful, and we got a lot of attention because of that. The other thing I want to mention about the day of ticket sales is that the word of mouth thing is a really big deal. And what we often find is 4 friends bought tickets, and then all of a sudden that morning there's a 5th one of them that decides they want to go along. So we sell far more day of tickets for this event than we do for any other event that we do, because if the weather, as Faye said, turns out great, then you've got this added group of people who wouldn't have bought a ticket earlier but now want to. So to summarize, as you have heard, this is a complex event. You're in people's homes, so the volunteer thing is absolutely key. And I would recommend that you approach realtors in your community. Faye's talked about why they might be willing to do that. They're just great volunteers, and they make it possible for a small institution that either doesn't have a lot of volunteers, or in my case, I have a lot of volunteers, but most of them don't really have an interest in this kind of thing. It gives you the ability to do this. Both monetary and community benefits. Yes, we make quite good money on this event, but we always get new memberships. We always make new friends. It has ancillary benefits that are significant, and that has been the case every single year. Do sweat the small stuff. That's mostly Faye's job, which she does very well. As you can tell, you need somebody who really pays attention to every detail. That's also a way, and I'm sure John and Jaye would echo this, that you give homeowners confidence that their home is going to be protected because you've really seen to everything. And lastly, and most important for a nonprofit and a community organization, build relationships. This is a great way to do that. And I just can't say enough about how wonderful a program this has been for us, and really how sad we are that this year we can't offer it. So with that, I will, if there are any questions, we will open it up for questions. And Heather is going to help me, I think, with that.
Yes, I do have a couple of this presentation makes me yearn for being able to go into other people's houses. So what do you do if the homeowner is already a member? What kind of gift do you give them, or do you do anything special for them?
Yes, so they get a full year patron membership. So if they're already a patron membership, they get a full year more. If they're at a lower level, we bring them up to the patron level. And I actually once had someone who was a higher than the patron level membership did it, and I gave them a full year at the level that they were at.
Okay. And then kind of follow up on this one. I may have missed this. How much are tickets?
So what we have done every year is the tickets are $35 and they're $25 for members, and the sponsor ticket is, I believe, $250, and that is 2 house tour tickets, membership, and invitation to this after party, which is a very limited number. So it's basically just the homeowners, the volunteers. Most of the volunteers don't even get to go to that party. It's basically the homeowners and the trustees at a private home for champagne reception, which has been great. But I think the ticket price really depends on your location, what maybe other communities around you do. I mean, we do have Salem right next to us, which offers a house tour. Theirs is they tend to have decorators, I think, but we price it the same. And we have had absolutely no resistance to that price point.
And a follow up to that one was, what about the bathrooms? Are they opened or not in the homes, or is it dependent upon the home?
We would never ask a homeowner to open the bathrooms in their home, but we are. Maybe they could if they want, but we always have at least one of our properties open, and that's where people can go for a bathroom or water or whatever else they may need. I think there's a limit as to what you can ask the homeowners to do. Faye, the rest of you want to jump in?
So I have had homeowners say it's okay for people to use their bathroom, but nobody ever has.
I will also say that we also don't ask homeowners to provide refreshments, but a lot of them do. They provide cookies or cider or something else, which just obviously makes it even more special.
Okay, and then let me go back to the chat. Wonderful, wonderful. Any thoughts of doing this event virtually given COVID? If so, how might you go about doing that? Or have you not gone that far yet?
I haven't done it, but there are around here where I'm in Massachusetts, there are a couple of virtual house tours, and I'm very anxious to hear how they go. I think 2 things about that based on no knowledge, but that's never stopped me before. The first one I think is if there might be a higher cost attached to it out of pocket, because I think you'd probably want it professionally filmed. Or unless you had somebody that was really good at that, so that it was well done. And I'll repeat what I said at the beginning about people being nosy, and I'm not sure the virtual thing would cover that. I mean, the number one thing about this is people like to see how other people live, and I think part of that is just experiencing being in the house. Now, having said that, I'm going to follow up with, I know Framingham, Mass is doing a virtual tour. I don't know who else is. I'm going to follow up with them and see how it went. And if they said it was a great success and it didn't cost a lot of money, I might be tempted to do it next year. It would clearly change certainly all of Faye's job, because instead of having all the people coming in and out, you'd have much more work ahead of time, right? Planning the route of the camera and how you were going to do that. I'd want somebody that had that expertise, and I definitely don't have that.
Can I throw a comment in there?
Yeah.
One of the things, the first year we did the tour, we did it the first weekend of December. And we learned that that's a little early for a lot of people to decorate. So in order to do a virtual tour,
that's right,
we would have to ask people to decorate really early. Nobody knew what was going to happen this year. I already had, before this pandemic hit, 3 properties to put on this year's tour. there were 3 homeowners who couldn't do it last year and said, make sure you put me in next year's tour. And then there was another house I wanted to get into, so I called that person and they agreed as well. So I think probably I want to talk to those 3 people and get some thoughts from them, but I think it remains to be seen how this is going to play out with the pandemic and how we handle it this year. As Sue said, a lot of our event is really because people want to get inside these houses, but there are others doing virtual tours this year, and it is going to be interesting to hear what they've done. And, you know, one of the thoughts we had is maybe having appointments, setting up times, time tickets, so that you don't have too many people going through a house at once. But we've thought about a lot of things, but it's a little too early right now to make any real decisions on what we might do.
That is very true. There was a comment saying that the New Hampshire Boat Museum did a virtual boathouse tour and it's on their website. You wanted to check that one out. So Lisa Simpson Lutz pointed that out. And so I think that's it for questions. If anybody has any additional questions, go ahead and type them in either the Q&A or the chat. I do have a question for you though. I know this is mainly for house tours, but have you thought about doing more of the garden tours just because it is outside?
You know, I thought of that, but we actually have a garden club that does a garden tour every other year, and I would feel like I was stepping on their toes. I think if you don't have that, it's a great idea. I also, you know, we thought about the time tickets. I think there's a lot of close-up stuff here, right? You've got somebody at the door who's checking the ticket off. You've got people going in and out of narrow doorways. It would be very hard to do it under the circumstances that we're in now, even if, for instance, we cut the number of participants in half or something like that. And then at a certain point, does it make sense to do it if you've cut way back on your revenue?
I think we're all facing that issue of how much can we cut back on.
And I also want to say that I would be perfectly happy to talk to anybody about this. If you want to get in touch with me, I'd send you copies of the materials, send you, talk to you about how it works. I just can't say enough about what an absolutely wonderful event this is for us as an organization, and I think for Beverly. I mean, I think it's just turned into a really terrific day, and I would encourage people who can figure out that volunteer piece to do it.
And also, Sue knows how to get a hold of me, so if people had any specific questions they wanted to ask me, I'd be happy to talk to anybody about some of the things we've done and how to approach perhaps a realty office and see if they'd entertain doing it. Because there's sort of a funny joke, everybody has a friend in real estate. And they say, if you don't have a friend in real estate, you probably don't have any friends at all. So you should think about who you know, because somebody and somebody in your organization knows a realtor.
That is very true. So there was a comment from one of our participants. The Three Village Historic Society in New York has a similar tour called the Candlelight House Tour, which was canceled due to the pandemic. I should be able to say that word by now. What we did instead was have a breakfast and dinner party at the local inn with a presentation celebrating the past 40 years. BTHS has held the Candlelight House Tour slide presentation displaying old brochures and photos from the past 40 years. And yes, it was socially distanced.
That sounds so wonderful to have an event with people. I mean, we just, at least in Massachusetts, the numbers are very strict for indoor gatherings. And we really, I mean, unless you have a very large facility, you really can't do an indoor event here still. It's just been so hard for everybody, but I think that's a fabulous idea. And it sounds like it was a lot of fun.
No, there's been a lot of outdoor stuff lately. I'm not looking forward to the cold months.
Yes, and we're running walking tours in December. So if that gives you an idea of how we're adapting, we're going to keep doing stuff outside until people refuse to come because they are comfortable outside.
We're New England. We can deal with it.
We're tough.
We're already people, come on. Could do that one. So I think that's it for, unless there's any last minute things. But I do want to say thank you to Faye for telling us a little bit about how you set it up. And then also John and Jaye for sharing about your homeowner experience. I thought that was really great to be able to include someone that was actually part of the house tour.
It was
From
a
your
pleasure.
perspective.
And I want to thank Heather, who probably hasn't slept in a couple of weeks because she's the chief organizers of this conference, which I think so far has just been phenomenal. So thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Sue.
For helping us out. And I hope to hear from any of you that would like to do this.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.